Okay, all good. 3, 2, 1. Good. Then let's start. A quick update on EUGREEN ID. I did see some Oh, there's Vitor coming. I did see some communication going back and forth, Daniela, between your team and the service provider that you asked to implement Edugain, right? They're still struggling, I think, to retrieve a good, unique identifier from Azure, from Microsoft Azure,
Yes.
which we're using to do so. So I think my colleague here at our data center does its best to point your colleagues and the service provider to the correct documentation that they need to follow to identify a good, unique identifier from Azure. We are not using Azure, so we don't have a specific experience with that. If I'm not correct, I don't see ATU on here. I think ATU is using Azure as their identity provider in Ireland. So I can, match you and Donald for that purpose if that persists. But
Yes.
I think I would assume that if you ask them, please give us one unique identifier for all user accounts or identities that you have with Azure for your university, they should be able to do so. So it cannot be that difficult. I know it's not you or not your team, but it should be simple to come by. So
Locally,
the issue.
we manage with these identities between Moodle and Azure. We have no problems. I don't know what happens when we are connecting with Edugain. They have a problem. They did not found what happens. So I will tell them to be in touch with our colleagues from Ireland. No?
First of all, they can keep in touch with the communication they have. I saw an email from yesterday, I think, another response by my team's colleague,
Yes.
Michael. And he again pointed to the right documentation. So
Okay.
only if he cannot solve it based on this technical documentation, then we can open another communication to Donald from Ireland. I know that they are, I'm pretty sure they're using Microsoft Azure as the identity provider to check whether they can help. But if you ask Microsoft, they should be able to retrieve a unique identifier somewhere on their attributes. Okay. Good. So that's just to keep track of. Then, the main topic of today is the progress on metadata management and directory, which is collection of data records of different types throughout the new Agora system. So who of you has already seen through your test teams and logged on to the new Agora version? Just by the sign of hand. So Przemek did. Okay, if it's less than half, I said, okay, I'm going to show it and present it to you. Let me quickly pull it up in one of my, where am I here? Okay, there we go. Share my screen. Screen, there we go. So the URL, as you probably realize, has not changed much. So the only difference is that they added a PRE for pre-professional or pre-productive system before in between EUGREEN and widening. So the old URL was eugreen.widening.eu, and the new URL is almost identical, eugreen.pre.widening.eu. As I explained in Evora and also to you, I think the last call, and also in the email that I sent out to all the test teams today, the two main differences between this and the old version is it's based on a new open source Odoo ERP system. So it's not version 11, version 16. It's not the latest. I think they're at 18 now. But I couldn't convince the team in Spain, UPC, to go to the latest version. So the latest version that they have a stable build on was Odoo ERP 16. And we now have our own instance, which means we're not sharing our Agora system with any other alliance anymore. I think the last call, I presented some glitches that I found for data privacy and legal issues, that we were able to see email addresses, even communication from and to other alliances. And at least my legal team didn't like that. I also reached out to some Odoo experts by now. It could have been configured differently, so we are not able to see other communication and other personal data. But for the time being, until UPC releases a configured system that has separated data sets, I urge them to give us our own single instance, which they did. So this is now a test system that only we as EU Green and all of our test users have access to. No other than our 9 universities get access to this environment. I mean, the only ones is the UPC technical team in Barcelona, but they should, right, because they host the system for us. The other difference you already see is the interface. So Odoo 16 comes with a much nicer web interface for their website interface. The main objects, which you can see on the left-hand side already, this is more Work Package 2 related. So Przemek Marta, together with your Work Package 2 lead, forgot her name, Edita. Enough, correct. We selected for now student courses, then PhD courses, extracurricular activities. That's more for Work Package 4 and 8, I think. They specifically asked for non-curricular activities. Then for program, we chose one example, a joint master's program, because we know that there's 2 in the works right now. And we also choose MOOCs as an existing model structure that Agora had already built before. Then events were asked for by almost every test team, internships and research proposals, innovation proposals, and research infrastructures are by Work Package 3. So it's mainly selected metadata objects for Work Package 2 and 3. With some examples for internship, I think is also requested by Work Package 6, and the innovation proposal by Work Package 4, for example. For all of these metadata objects, we have just entered or uploaded test data. So for courses, there's 5. Again, sometimes we just upload, for example, here, Przemek, I took the freedom to take your logo just to simplify one of the courses related to Wrocław. Then if I go back on the example of what else, joint master's programs, for example, there's one EU Green test program we put in. What else? For research infrastructure, I uploaded some examples of research equipment here in Magdeburg that I found on our Vice Rector's website with all the details that the EU Green, that the Agora team in UPC recommended. So we just, some of this we manually filled in. So as you will be able to see if I go back, when you see the list of all test data, everyone that has access to this test system can create, I need to log in again. Okay, interesting. We do so quickly. So you see the whole EduGain setup is the same as for the old system. Oops. And once you're signed in, everyone who has a test user on the system can also create their own research infrastructure manually. I anticipate your question, Przemek. Of course, you can also upload data by Excel or CSV file. And we're currently working on an API connection for all of these data sets as well. So that's something that I will, because I know that you specifically asked for the synchronization of data between local systems and Agora. I can also show you in a second how I was able to at least upload them with a CSV file, tens, 20s, dozens of these data records. And together with Alba, we are now getting into a stage where I want to connect and call APIs for each of these model structures. So we can synchronize data against our local systems. Yeah, so that's the front end, so to speak. So see, that's the website that every user having access to this test environment can start playing around with and testing, creating internships, events, and so on. Then the backend, many of our testers also have access to some or most of the backend systems. You just click on one quickly. So for example, for the research infrastructures you just saw, there's a backend module, research infrastructure. When a backend user, like a research admin, would get access to this, they would see the same research equipment that you just saw on the website. They can individually click on them. They can edit them in the backend. They will also be able, they are able to download the Excel format. So we activated the actions of export and delete. So they can export this one structure with all the data or some data that is relevant to them as they wish. And they can also upload new data. That's what I did. So these 10 or 12 research infrastructures are uploaded from a CSV file. So I just downloaded one full structure and then I just added to the CSV file more rows. And then I was able to create these research infrastructures on the Agora system. The API is not yet active. So this is our next step. So we're not only manually maintaining entries into these folders, but also to upload and download them, but also to synchronize during a open API call. So that's something that Alba and I just talked about it this morning. So that's something I can share next time, or if you're interested in testing this together with us, just reach out to me. Happy to do so. Good. What else? There's some modules that we have not yet done a lot with, for example, the CRM module or the project module. I know that some test teams are working on these too. The difference between those tools this modules and the others is they are much more integrated into workflow engine. So when you create a project, for example, it will first reach me, my team here in Magdeburg, and then I would need to release a project. So the workflow beneath this recommendation and approval process is that currently my team here in Magdeburg has the right to approve projects to be moved from one level to another. So there's some more complicated workflow that can be configured in the background. And once I talk to the work package that I would like to use the project management module more deeply, I can also add them to this team. But for example, I saw that Kasha from Wrocław, from your team, she created 1 or 2 test projects here. I don't know, not these probably, but on the old system. And I saw emails by her or by the system from her in my inbox. So I would need to accept those projects for her to continue working on them. That's something that we need to figure out together with the specific test teams. What would they like to use these modules for? And what do they need for their work packages? Right. Good. That's a little bit of a deep dive into Agora. The test teams I contacted today with 2 more information. One, there's a general onboarding session from the UPC team on the general Agoras for all the European University Alliances next Tuesday. I know that many of us are probably in the mock-up presentation for the midterm review. So it's right on Tuesday from 10 to 11. If you can attend, it's fine. I sent to you all the meeting details and the log or the registering details for next week's general session. And I invited all the test teams to request specific EU Green related Agora test sessions or onboarding sessions if they need. Right? I know that Work Package 3 already had their onboarding session last week. And I know that Francis and Margaret from Work Package 5, they requested a similar meeting next week. So Przemek, for your team, for example, if you need a more deep dive into all these modules that are now available, let me know. We can find the time to do so while I'm going back to the website here. Yeah. Any questions from you? Because I would expect that some of your local colleagues, your work package leads or coordinators, will, after Evoda, reach out to you and say, okay, we were asked to build our own test teams and our own testing for our work packages. Can you, as a technical lead for your university, help us to set this up? So that's why I'm explaining this in more detail. Currently, we have 6 test teams from the 18 possible, right? I recommended every work package to have their own test team, and I recommended every university of our 9 to have their test teams. Currently, we have test teams for Parma, Wrocław, and Magdeburg, and we have test teams for work package 9, work package 5, and work package 3. So if there are specific additional test teams needed, let me know. I can set them up and have Elba create test accounts for them. I also saw, Przemek, you've probably received the same email 3 times because you're part of so many test teams. That's the rule of life. Yeah. Okay, any questions from you? Can you? If that is not the case, anything else I could share on the Agora? So the two more things. Let me stop sharing for a moment. So 2 more things that you probably were also asked by your rectors, what are the questions raised to the rectors meeting 2 weeks ago. My rector asked me the same question. Again, I did not write the questions. So some of your rectors came to me in Evora and said, Stefan, what were these questions about asked on Wednesday and Thursday? I said, I didn't ask them, sorry. So the question raised to the rectors was, okay, for EU Green Work or for Agora or whatever you want to call it, should this be a central or a decentral system? And the question has already 2 problems from a technical standpoint. First of all, there's no one system, right? I mean, even if you look at Agora, Work Package 2 will probably have different modules than Work Package 3. And there will be Moodle systems and there will be Microsoft Teams. So there will be a lot of systems that we would need to harmonize and to interconnect and to work with. So to ask for a single question, should all the systems be central or decentral, for me is technically wrong, because you see, Microsoft Teams is an external system provided by Microsoft. This is external. It's not central. It's not decentral. For most of our Moodle systems, we keep hosting them on our 9 universities. They will not become central because every accredited course that your 9 universities host will be running on your Moodle system. If we, for example, as work package 7, Daniela, so your team, Oradia, is trying to build 17 MOOCs, I think, by the end of this year, which is a very ambitious goal. So for MOOCs which are not accredited, as far as I understood, they could be installed on a central Moodle system for all the EU Green systems, hosted by one of us or hosted even externally. So the question should rather be posed by, depending on what type of a system we're looking at, what is the most or the optimal, the best solution to host it at? Is it best to host it at one of our 9 locations, at all of our 9 locations, or is it best to host it outside of our 9 locations? And that would be even a question posed more to us as the IT team or to the coordinators rather than to the rectors. So there was some hassle and discussion on the EU Green Work, which is not one system, but multiple. In the end, the decision was made. I've not seen the protocol yet, the meeting minutes of the rectors meeting, but the decision that was presented on the day after in the wrap-up session was that the rectors took the freedom to allow Work Package 9 and all the others to continue on Agora, but under 2 conditions. I think one condition was mainly or primarily coming from Poland, provide us with proof that by any point we can delete data that we uploaded to Agora. So that's something that I talked to the UPC team already. I mean, we can add the flags. Most of the data models have flags to the originating university anyway. So it would be easy to detect and collect data that's related to Poland or to Oradea or to Yevle or whatever, and then to possibly delete it, like an erase button that you would have on a GDPR conformity. So we were asked to prove that we can delete any data provided by one person or by one organization easily. Easily does not mean one button deletes all, but at least we have a mechanism to erase data by one organization or by multiple users. And the second condition was that you remember that UPC received money from the EU Commission until end of 2027, if I remember correctly, to provide the Agora system centrally or externally to all the other alliances. And there's no continuation planned yet. And I keep telling everyone who asks me, yeah, because every EU project ends in 2027. Maybe some military deals are longer than this or some financial relations, but most of the financing plan in the EU ends at the end of 2027. Nothing is beyond that planned. So I would be surprised if the EU does not continue funding the Agora in one central place, because it just makes sense to support all the 70 and more alliances through one central system, rather than have every one of us develop our own research infrastructure modules and course collections and so on. I had a meeting today with Jesus, the head of the Agora project, and I told him that I was told by the rectors meeting that I need to prove by the next rectors meeting in Angers that we could potentially host the Agora in one of our 9 universities, which I think is an easy task because Odoo is an open source tool. My colleague installed Odoo in half an hour, so the plain vanilla system is easy to install. And I did convince Jesus that I received from him the whole code line of the Agora system, as you just saw. So I can replicate the same tool that they run in Barcelona here in Magdeburg. I told them very dearly, I don't want this. So I don't want to run this. In the long run, I believe that it's much easier for our 9 universities to have an external partner to host this instead of one of our 9 to host it, and then allow all the other 8 to connect to one central system. I think legally and GDPR conformity wise, this would be more difficult to allow. Anyway, technically, they want a proof of concept that we can export data as well as export the whole system and install it at one of our 9 universities. I set out this plan B, so to speak, to be ready by the next rectors meeting. So I also promised my rector that we can also develop one of the modules that the work packages request locally and then hand it over to Jesus to run it at the UPC hosted system as well. So again, it's more a mitigation of risk. I understand the rectors want to be sure that after 2027, there's some continuation plan. If the EU does not fund UPC, we can come back to this plan B. If they don't continue funding and they don't develop a business model, maybe they ask us for 20,000 euros a year, and then I still would have them host it instead of one of us hosting it. But they want a proof of concept that we can technically run the same or similar environment in our own alliance, one of our alliance data centers. So that's the 2 objections that the rectors took. And it will probably appear this or similar in the meeting minutes that come out soon. I've not seen them yet. Okay. So as I see Vitor joined. So I think, Vitor, this was one of your questions. I don't know whether he listens. He seems distracted. So Vitor asked a specific question at the meeting, the rectors meeting in Galway, whether it would be possible to install and run the Agora system, the open source system, on one of our alliances data centers. It would, but I still agree, Vitor, technically it would be easier or it would be possible, but I think legally it would be more challenging than to ask an external provider to do so. Okay, good. Any questions on, or any comments on this strategy? Very quiet. That's the post Easter weekend. So either I explained it well or anticipated most of your questions, or you don't have any. Yeah, so that's the task set out. So if you want to join, so I mean, I've not hammered out the details yet of how I will receive the code and how I can install this locally. They probably also only pick one university to test this with as a guinea pig. I can report on our local installation and implementation in our next call. What you can join if you want is the API synchronization. So I know, Przemek, that you specifically asked for, connecting your local research and course systems to Agora to connect to an API that we can use. So I talked to an Odoo expert. They say it's possible. You can set up wrapped APIs, open APIs, or trusted APIs for each of the data modules and just send data to or even read data from. I think last time on Ebra, we had with somebody, I had a deeper discussion on whether we should implement a pull or push mechanism. From my technical understanding, I think also from a legal perspective, it's much easier for our universities to push data to somewhere rather than to accept or to expect a foreign system to read into our systems and to give, reading rights and to allow different access levels to our own systems. So if you would like to test this together with me in the next couple of weeks or months with the UPC team in Barcelona, just reach out to me after the call and let me know that I should include you in the discussion group or the work group. Otherwise, I present the details next time we meet, in about a month. Okay. Good. That's all I had. The only last thing on my agenda is the next call. So if you have no other points to mention, comments to make, feedback to give, and that's a shorter call than I thought, but good. I mean, if this is still Easter holiday for some of you, then I can keep it short, luckily. Good. So then last point on my list is the next call. So next call is scheduled for the 21st of May, the same time as today. So 3:30, Daniela. Yes. So I cannot attend it on that and the following day because I'll be on a business trip for 2 days to another German university. So let us check whether we want to move it a full week or whether you would like to find another date in the same week. So I can potentially move it 1 week to May 28th. That would be my first recommendation. So would that not work for some of you?
That's fine for me.
Okay, Andreas fine, Przemek, okay. Christian also nodding, Daniela.
It's okay.
Jaime. Vitor I haven't seen. Vitor is looking disturbed. No.
Okay. 21 or 28th, right?
May 28th, yeah. Instead of May 21, okay. May 28th. Okay, fine. Jan, I think I've seen a nod as well, right? Okay, good. Then that was easier than I thought. Then let's move it to May 28th. I'll again move the calendar entry in Microsoft Teams. I know some of you don't receive this. I will also move it in my own calendar, which would trigger a change of your local calendars, and I'll send out an email. So I'll do the proof safe method here. That every one of you receives the change. If you want to note it down, it's May 28th, like half an hour ago than now, the same day and time the same weekday and time we started today. Okay, so let me take a note that we moved this and I can update the invite next time. Okay. Anything else I can help you with today or that you'd like to share? That's not the case. I give you 25 minutes back of your precious time. Wish you a good rest of your day, a good spring, recovering from Easter or enjoying your Easter vacation, and see you in 5 weeks. Then.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.